Welcome to the Deficient Vegans podcast. This is episode 43. I'm the muscle deficient vegan here with the protein deficient vegan. You want to say hi?
Hi.
Hi, everybody. So this week, we're going to talk about why your fitness tracker might be sabotaging your calorie deficit.
What isn't sabotaging your calorie deficit?
That's a really good point. And we'll also cover our myth of the week, which is that serving sizes on nutrition labels actually matter and are useful.
And aren't just a marketing gimmick?
No. Well, we'll see. But first up, new news.
New news.
So a vegan bodybuilder named Joe DeMarco set a Guinness World Record. He is 61 years old and did 602 toes to bar crunches, kind of, in 1 hour.
But like on a bar.
Yeah, so this is where you hang on a pull-up bar, and then you do kind of like a leg raise, but all the way up to where your feet touch the pull-up bar.
That's way harder than a crunch.
It's way harder, yeah. And you have to hang. Of course, he doesn't do it the entire time. He gets off and rests. It's just how many can you do in an hour, no matter how you do it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the old record was like 430, I think, something like that, and he did 602.
Okay, I have many questions, but like, A, how do you find out you're good at this? And like good enough to even look into the Guinness Book World Record? And like, also, are there Guinness World Records for like all different exercises?
Yeah, I don't know. So this is actually, I guess, a common move in CrossFit and gymnastics. So I'm guessing he probably joined CrossFit at some point and started doing these. And he's like, well, I can do these all day. Like
he
Captain
just realized
America.
He's the guy.
Yeah.
This is his mission in life. Could you make up an exercise and then get a Guinness record for it?
Yeah, I mean, maybe. They all got made up somewhere, right? You had to figure out with the Guinness Commission how you had to do that.
Remember those Guinness World Record books, like when we were kids?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
The only one I really remember is the lady with like the longest fingernails.
That's the one I remember.
That was super gross.
Yeah.
They like curled into each
but
other.
But impressive. I mean, I obviously wouldn't want it, but for the purposes
stresses me out.
I think those are cool because it's like a lot of those things most people wouldn't want to do, but it's cool to see what can be done.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I don't want to do. I don't know. I don't even like if I have like whites of my fingernail showing, like, cut those off.
Yeah, not for you.
It starts making me kind of anxious.
Maybe you could do like longest hair though.
I don't know. I think there was a longest hair.
I'm sure there is, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway,
seems like a lot.
Lots of crazy stuff in those books for sure.
It's funny that the nails stick with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty wild to look at.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I feel like that one will probably never be beat. The nails.
No. It gives me a physical reaction just thinking of it, and I haven't seen that picture in like over 20 years.
Next piece of news is there's a vegan sushi chain called Planta that has been really popular. A lot of celebrities talk about it over the years. They had like 18 locations, and now they are shutting down completely. They had a reorganization attempt last year, I guess, kind of part of a bankruptcy, and they ended up closing like half their restaurants, but it sounds like that wasn't enough to make it work, so they're closing down operations entirely. They are the sister company to another, I guess, an Asian restaurant chain called Planta Queen, although we've been there and I don't really remember it being particularly Asian. That's how it was described.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I have many feelings on this. They also did this thing where they sent out a survey being like, how would you guys feel if we threw animal products on the menu? And they got a lot of backlash. And then they were like, oh, we were never going to do it.
Do you know if that was from Planta or Planta Queen?
I think it was from... I did not know they were different because
I
like
didn't either. Apparently
their social media, I think, is run by the same.
I think it's the same owners. It's just two different brands.
Right. But I'm saying like I think their social media is combined.
Yeah.
Like Planta and Planta Queen are under the same social media. So like I think, I don't know. But I think it was Planta Queen because it was sending it out to Chicago people.
Yeah. I think a lot of restaurants are having difficulty right now. The article that was part of this that we specifically saw was saying, a lot of non-vegan restaurants are also having a lot of trouble and closing down. The vegan restaurants at a slightly higher percentage, but it's not like specifically affecting vegan restaurants really.
Yeah, I think I saw something about the Slutty Vegan franchise too was having some issues.
Yeah.
But I think the problem is like the vegan space is pretty new, and I don't think anyone really knows like what is like the full amount of money that can be made in the space restaurant wise. And so like throwing out a bunch of franchises when you don't know if you actually have enough people to support that, I think is, I don't know, maybe a pretty wild move.
I think it's also tricky maybe with the vegan space because there are a lot of different types of vegans as far as the food goes.
Yeah,
There's like raw vegans, there's like super healthy whole food vegans. I mean, this really applies to non-vegans too, but specifically with vegans, they're a little more dogmatic about it. And then there's like vegans who just want to eat like soul food, junk food kind of stuff. So
yeah,
having all those options at one restaurant is a little tricky.
Yeah, especially like you're already dealing with such a small number of the population, and then now you start like parsing it out into like even smaller subsets. It gets a little dicey.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, I don't really want to talk super shit about a company that's failing, but like we went there a few times and it was very overpriced for like what you got. And
they definitely tried to focus a lot more on experience and ambiance than they did like the food.
And by experience, we mean it looked pretty. I don't even particularly remember the waiters being like overly friendly or anything. It was just like, let's buy a super expensive building and make it look fancy.
Yeah. I think
that doesn't impress me at all.
I'm just saying I think that's what they were going for. I'm not saying they hit the mark there.
No, I think so too. I think it was like, let's get the most Instagrammable restaurant situation we can. And like, I think that goes so far. But at some point, people want good food.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. So
I'd rather go to Alice and Friends, which is a very like humble restaurant, you know.
No,
like
that's an Asian. So
that's an actual Asian restaurant, and you walk in, and it's like it's not like overly decorated. They're not like buying like the biggest, most outlandish building on the corner. It's just you know,
everything on the menu is a banger.
Every fucking thing on the menu slaps. That's the kind of vegan restaurants I support.
Yeah, and it's a big menu. It's a big menu. I've never found anything on there that wasn't amazing.
No, it's all really good.
Yeah. So anyway.
But no, it is sad to see vegan restaurants failing, though.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think it'll be interesting kind of to see how it shakes out. And, like, I think you won't really know for a while, like, where it lands. Like, how many consumers overall do you actually have? Like, how many fully vegan restaurants can a city actually support? And I don't think we really know that because, like, we're seeing a lot of ones close down in Chicago.
Yeah.
So, support the restaurants you love. Otherwise, they may close.
Yeah, for sure. And then the last piece of news we have is Unibio, a Danish fermentation startup. Back on our fermentation thing here.
We love fermentation.
This one's a little different, though. They're partnering with a Saudi Arabian investment group to build a facility that's going to produce proteins from greenhouse gases.
Yeah.
We're going to turn gas into protein now.
Yeah, this one is really interesting. So I looked it up, and it seems like it's taking off gas, maybe from like refineries or something that they have there, which are like mostly methane for the most part, or like hydrogen. And so I don't know if you guys know this, but most proteins there's like a few different chemical configurations of protein, but basically it's like carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, sulfur, and nitrogen. So this one, it looked like it was taking methane, ammonia, and oxygen, I think. And then now it's going to make protein out of that, which is really interesting. I kind of wonder, there's a lot of refineries in the U.S., so maybe we can set up local sites of this in the U.S. instead of having to like pull in stuff from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
I mean, that was Danish, but...
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. I mean, this is another one where it's like we can make protein in a way that doesn't really use animals at all in this case.
Yeah.
So I think any options like that are definitely beneficial. The product here is called Uniprotein. They said it's like 70% protein by weight, the dry weight, 85% digestibility. I think it was 9% fats.
Yeah.
And then the protein amino acid composition was comparable to soy and fish. So
basically complete.
Yeah, a really highly digestible, complete protein. Seems like a really high-quality protein source. So I'll be interested to see what happens when it comes out.
I'm interested to see what it tastes like. I assume they're going to make it flavorless, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It looked like when I was reading the article, it's going to primarily go to animal feed right now, and then eventually it'll become like maybe sold for human food.
Yeah, we'll see. Looking forward to seeing that come out. And more products like it. All this fermentation stuff, especially now we're talking about just plucking things out of the gas. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I saw one last year, maybe, that was talking about making butter from the air.
Oh, wow.
It's like plant-based butter from like greenhouse gases.
That's really cool.
It's really cool. I think also just any greenhouse gases we can get out of the sky are a good thing.
Yeah.
I know a lot of like energy companies are looking into pulling carbon out of the sky or wherever and do this thing called carbon capture where they store it in underground caverns. But this is way cooler.
Yeah, for sure. We can eat this.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's go ahead and get into the main segment and talk about why your fitness tracker might be misleading you on calories for a calorie deficit if you're trying to lose weight. So
And by fitness tracker, what do you mean? Like MyFitnessPal?
The actual calorie burn estimates come from an activity tracker, like a wearable, like a smartwatch, or maybe even if your phone's in your pocket, it's counting steps, something like that.
Or like on the treadmill.
Yeah, on the treadmill, you'll see when you get done, it'll kind of give you a number about how many calories it thinks you burned, some stuff like that. But the part that leads into it messing up your deficit is some of the food tracking apps like MyFitnessPal, Chronometer, things like that, will take in the calorie burn estimates from those devices and add those into your food diary. And when they do that, some of them add extra calories back to your day. So if your calorie goal was like 2,000 calories a day, and then you went on a run and that was logged to your activity tracker, and your activity tracker is hooked up to MyFitnessPal, say, it's going to add calories back to your log for how many it thinks you burned during that activity.
Yeah, so like if it thinks you burned 300 calories, now it's going to give you 2,300 calories to eat.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I've had that happen on MyFitnessPal before.
Yeah, I think on MyFitnessPal now it's on by default, and you can't disable it unless you're on premium now.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I've been on premium for a while, so
and by
I
interesting,
didn't know
you mean very annoying.
That is very annoying. So I guess you'd have to look at that base number on the left side.
Yeah.
That like says how many calories you actually have consumed or whatever.
Because when this is on in MyFitnessPal, it shows you like a little math equation, and it's like plus 300 calories for exercise or whatever.
Or disable the tracker from MyFitnessPal.
Yeah, that's really the way you should get around it. If you don't want to buy MyFitnessPal Premium, just turn off, whatever integration it is that's feeding those activities into your MyFitnessPal.
Or do math.
Yeah, nobody wants to do that.
I do.
Yeah, so the main problem here is that those calorie burn estimates are not accurate. So something on an activity tracker, and especially something on the treadmill, it's going to give you a number, but that number is not really personalized to you. I mean, even in the case of like an Apple Watch, that knows a lot about you, but those numbers just aren't really accurate for the purposes of tracking food.
Especially if you're trying to lose weight.
Yeah, definitely.
Specifically, right?
Right. This is mainly only a problem in general if you're trying to lose weight. But on the other end, it could cause you to gain weight a little faster than you want. If you're trying to gain, or if you're trying to maintain, it can cause you to gain a little bit of weight. But those aren't usually as annoying, I think. I think it's way more annoying when you're trying to lose weight and you're stalling out and you're not sure why. But this number getting added back to the food diary causes a lot of people to overcorrect, eat what it says, because, it's like, oh, this app is made for this. Surely it's right. And then, they're overcorrecting on their deficit and causing basically no progress. Another issue is that your activity trackers, a lot of them will report what they call gross calories burned instead of net calories burned. So it's tracking how many calories you would have burned in that period of time anyway, plus the calories you burned from the activity.
Oh, yeah, no, that's kind of a problem because you're burning calories just sitting around all day.
Right. So if it says you went on a run and you burned 400 calories, it might only be 100 extra calories of that came from a run. And then the other 300 you would have burned anyway. So if you go and
breathing and other bodily functions.
Right. So if you go and eat those 400 calories, you really should have only adjusted for 100 if you should have done anything at all, but you ate the whole 400. So, I mean, it's just a lot of ways that this can screw you up. And another issue with the calories getting added back to the food tracker is that the more you change your calorie target day to day, the harder it is to troubleshoot over time, like what exactly is going wrong with the deficit? How do I need to adjust my calories to try to lose weight? Because if you're, maintaining weight, when you're trying to lose weight, typically you would reduce your calories a little bit. But if, your calories are like different every single day, where are we reducing calories from? I mean, usually it's like the base goal, but then, if you're running a little more one day, whatever, it just it starts to change that number a lot more than makes sense to try to track things.
Yeah, especially if you're doing daily weigh-ins, you can't really tell, even if you lost 2 pounds one day and then you gained 3 pounds the next day and then you lost 0.5 pounds the next day, that's not really indicative of what you did the day before because weight kind of, you kind of really need to take a weekly average of those.
Right.
So it would be really hard to pin down, where are we going awry here?
Yeah, definitely.
So how do you get around that?
So to try to address this, the first thing to think of is this an activity that you're doing on a regular basis? So if we're talking about cardio or running or something like that, is that something you're doing, several times a week, every week? Or is this something you're doing once every 3 or 4 weeks?
Okay.
Yeah. If it's something that you're doing on a regular basis, You don't really need to do anything special because it will kind of show up in your weekly weigh-ins, and you can adjust your normal daily calorie target to just adapt for what is happening.
Okay, so like, let's say that I am trying to lose weight and I've decided to add in like an hour and a half of cardio extra each week.
Yeah.
How would I go figure out how many calories I should add in?
You would do that cardio for a couple of weeks and see how it affects your weigh-ins. And then if it causes you to lose weight faster than you want, you might add back in 100 calories, 200 calories, and then go for another week or two and see how that affects your weigh-ins.
Okay.
As far as the activity being on a regular basis, if it's not on a regular basis, then it's probably not even worth adjusting anything for because you're not doing it often enough that it's going to mess with your deficit much at all. So if this is, I went out and played Frisbee golf or something, and maybe I'll do it once every month, once every 2 months, like I just wouldn't adjust anything because you're going to have one day where you burn some extra calories, but in the end, that's not really going to be important enough that you need to like go and change your plan.
Or you went on like an all-day hike somewhere.
Right, exactly.
For fun.
Yeah.
On those days, I would just eat whatever the hell I wanted because I hiked for 8 hours.
Yeah, I think some people will probably.
But that's just me.
But even if you did that, that's not even happening enough that it's going to throw you off. So
right. It's like a once a month thing, right? Like,
yeah. So no big deal. So I would say if you're doing it frequently, it's going to be worked into your normal adjusting your calorie situation, however you manage that personally. And if you're doing it kind of abnormally, it's not happening enough to matter. So either way, I don't think you really need to make special adjustments for this if you're just trying to stick to a deficit.
Okay, so let's throw out the scenario of I am now part of a bike club, and once a month we go do a 5-hour bike ride.
Yeah.
What do I do?
I would say if you're doing that, I would just keep your normal calorie goals the same. Don't turn on this activity tracking stuff, anything like that. But on the day you go do the bike ride, just eat some extra calories. And, that can be kind of whatever you feel like. With different sports, you have different ways of kind of doing carb loading and making sure, you've got enough food in your system to actually finish the thing, whatever. Like you just do that stuff on that day, or the day before, like you're supposed to. And then maybe you'll just be over on calories for that day. And that's fine.
And you're probably not going to eat like 5,000 extra calories that day.
Right.
So it likely wouldn't affect your monthly results, right?
Right. And the extra food there is mostly just to like fuel the workout, make sure you recover properly, get your muscle glycogen restored and stuff like that. It's not really about trying to fix your deficit or anything. I would just do what it is you need to do on that day to complete the event that you're trying to do.
Okay. But if you're doing a 6-hour bike ride once a week,
yeah,
then you would go look at that, right?
Yeah,
you wouldn't just gorge yourself once a week.
No, yeah. If you're doing a 6-hour bike ride once a week, we'd probably set up some kind of plan where it's like, okay, overall, we're going to make your calories a little higher every day. And we might even plan, like you do this Friday every week. We might even plan for a day that has slightly higher calories. But that wouldn't be something that you're just arbitrarily changing day of, because also with the bike ride thing, you won't, if you're trying to do it based on exercise calories that got added back to your food tracker, you wouldn't even know what that is until after the ride, which is like later in the day.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe you'd want to eat that food earlier in the day before the ride.
That's
right?
interesting. So what would a person do if they didn't have a personal trainer to address this?
Yeah, I would say just eat a little more. There's not really going to be a number, I guess.
On the day of?
On the day of, yeah.
Okay.
Eat a little more in the morning, probably maybe like, I don't know, like 50% more, something like that. Just, you kind of have to gauge it. Like, how hard is the thing going to be? You're going to know that better than anybody, really.
Yeah, and if it's like a weekly thing, you can kind of look at the data after a few weeks and see if you are still losing the amount of weight you want.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if it's a regular thing and you're eating 2,000 calories a day and you start doing this thing regularly, you're like, okay, I'm losing weight way faster than I want, then you just bump up your calories every day. And
or I'm like exhausted on Saturday because of Friday.
Exactly. Yeah. If it's like, oh, I'm not really recovering from this bike ride, or it's like, oh, that was really hard, I didn't make it through. You just adjust like what you're eating day of. Adjust what you're eating day of for the performance of the event, but then adjust your daily normal calorie totals to make sure your deficit's in the right place. And those are kind of independent things.
And I think for all of this, you really need to be tracking your food accurately for any of this conversation to matter, right? Yeah. Like if you're eating like secret food that's not going into your MyFitnessPal, like there's going to be no way for you to figure out what your calories should actually be.
Yeah, especially if I know a lot of people on a long run or a long bike ride, they'll be taking in carbs during that. Right. So you also want to make sure that's being tracked. And a lot of the time, doing long distance type stuff like this on a regular basis is not super compatible with a long-term deficit to try to lose weight.
Yeah.
I mean, people do this to try to lose weight. It's just you're going to have trouble recovering anyway. So this is just going to make recovery harder. But if it's just something, you like to do or you want to do, then we can still adjust for it appropriately.
Yeah. I remember one time you and I were part of a group and we did a 6-hour gym day.
Yeah.
Where we just basically did a marathon of like every machine in the gym.
Yeah.
And then
we did a hit circuit.
And then we like ate our weight in food because we were just like starving. But then the next day we just didn't even move. And then the next day we did it again. And like that is not a way to lose weight at all.
Yeah. And that brings up a couple of the issues with trying to just kind of eat back the calories. And a couple of reasons why this can be difficult in general is activity like this is going to make you hungrier and it's going to make you more likely to overeat. So if this is something you're doing all the time, you definitely got to be careful and track the calories and make sure. And it's also, you'd only really want to adjust for something that's like really extensive and hard. This is not like, I went for a 30-minute run this morning. That's not something we're adjusting anything for. Like, we're not doing anything special.
Unless you're doing it like every day and then you start seeing that you're like losing way more weight than you should.
And then a couple of other issues with adding back calories are that your body is kind of already compensating by down-regulating is what they call it, but basically just like lowering your other activity in the day without you really noticing. So if you go on like a really long run, or you just go on like a normal run, or you add some extra cardio in throughout the week or something like that, your body, in some cases, in a lot of cases, will just kind of have you fidget less or like move around less, things you don't really notice.
Because it's just trying to maintain or...
Yeah, it's just compensating, trying to conserve energy. That's kind of what your body does. But this is a reason why adding activity does not always like directly increase a deficit. It's way more reliable to decrease the food intake. Because if you're saying like, okay, I'm going to add 2 extra cardio sessions this week, then you might not even notice it, but your body will kind of cancel some of that out by just like lowering your non-exercise activity subconsciously a lot of the time.
Yeah, this is why they say you can't like out-exercise a poor diet, right?
Right, exactly, yeah. And you'll see this, and I've seen it with people I've trained and other people I know who've been in training. They're trying to increase their deficit. They start just like doing cardio more, and that doesn't move the needle quite as much as you would expect. And that's for this kind of reason. But especially in a deficit, because if you're in a deficit, you're already going to have kind of down-regulated stuff, and it's just going to get worse as you add more activity.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And then it'll make you hungry, and then you'll probably,
and it'll make you hungry, and you're going to overeat more. I mean, you can control that a little bit by tracking, but, I think everybody knows tracking doesn't actually put like a cap on how much food you put in. You're just like, I ate too much today.
I think that's why, in general, like if you're starting a weight loss journey, it's probably good to do building blocks of like, let's start the deficit. Now let's add in activity,
Right.
Kind of see where you end up.
Yeah.
You don't want to do all of it at once and now you're starving and then you're overeating and then you end up like either not losing weight for a month or gaining weight.
Yeah, definitely. And then it's also true for like lifting or resistance training. That is something else that will show up on an activity tracker as calories burned, but resistance training burns a lot less calories than you might expect it would for how hard it feels.
Yeah.
It's definitely burning less than a cardio session. And it's, in some cases, it's not burning much at all. Because actually, if you think about like lifting, you're spending most of the time resting. And your heart rate's like coming back down from the 10 seconds you spent doing the lift.
That's true.
So,
and lifting makes me hangry.
Yeah.
Like more hangry than cardio does.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that like normal?
I don't know physiologically, but I have the same experience.
You have the same thing?
Yeah.
If I lift, I'm really hungry. If I do cardio, not so much.
Yeah.
And if I walk, I'm not really hungry at all.
Yeah, cardio mostly just makes me really thirsty. So
yeah.
Maybe sweat a lot or something. Yeah, so the right way to adjust your expenditure that isn't adding these calories back through these activity trackers is just kind of like we were talking about, like you weigh yourself for a few weeks, you take your weekly average with this new activity that's hopefully a consistent activity. And then if you're losing weight too fast or not losing weight as fast as you want, you just adjust your calories. I like to do it by like 100 to 200 calories a day at a time. So it's
let
not
it ride for a couple weeks.
Yeah, so it's not a huge adjustment. Let that go for a couple more weeks and say, okay, I'm about at the right rate now. And you just kind of keep tweaking that dial until you're in the right spot. And that's a lot easier to adjust than daily fluctuating calories based on whatever activity you happen to do.
Now, if anyone wanted to check to see if their like food tracking app was adding back in calories, how would you have them verify that it wasn't?
Yeah, so there's a setting in all of them that you can check, but you should also just be able to see, like, in your log, it will show, like, activity added back. MyFitnessPal at least can be a little misleading because even when you have this setting turned off, the activity will show up in the log.
Yeah.
It just won't give you calories back for it. But both Chronometer and MyFitnessPal have a setting in the settings where it's basically like add extra calories. So you just turn that off or check and see if it's on. And then if you use Macro Factor, it doesn't even look for that kind of thing. So you don't have to worry about that.
And then if you're really wanting to verify it, I guess you could do the math. Like,
yeah, I mean, if you know your calorie target is 2,000 for the day and you eat 2,000 calories and it's telling you have 300 left, then this thing's turned on.
Yeah.
You can manually do the math that way and like adjust it yourself. Or if you just use an app like Macro Factor, I think there might be another one that does this, but Macro Factor is, I think, the best one for it, where you just give it, your food every day, you give it your weight every day, and it automatically tracks your real-time expenditure. It doesn't use like activity burn estimates or whatever. It just tracks your actual real life expenditure based on the other data. So
like your weight inputs and stuff?
Yeah, your weight input. So basically, all you need to know your actual daily energy expenditure over time is your food intake and your weight. Like that's going to tell you your daily expenditure because that's how the math works out.
Okay, so if you were a person who didn't have the experience you have as a personal trainer and you didn't want to pay for a personal trainer, which app would you use to set your calories and everything?
I would 100% use Macro Factor.
Because it'll
do all this
calories
for you
and adjust all of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is not free. That's the downside. Chronometer and MyFitnessPal both have a free version. Macro Factor does not have a free version, but I think the calorie expenditure calculation and it kind of like coaches your calories for you. I think that is worth it's not expensive. I think it's like $5-6 a month, maybe something like that.
Less than Netflix.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I would recommend that to pretty much anybody who doesn't have a really good reason to use a different app. Just because of that data that it gives you. Yeah.
Or like the knowledge to know how to make all those adjustments and keep a close eye on it.
And it's going to be really hard to argue with Macro Factor because it's going to tell you like, this is exactly, if you're not losing weight, it's going to tell you this is exactly why. Like you're burning this many calories a day and you're eating this many calories a day. That's why you're not losing weight.
Yeah.
It just makes it irrefutable, basically.
Yeah, and it's like not to say that there might not be something wrong with your body, but the calories out are less than the calories in.
Right. For whatever. And there are, that equation is simple, but there are a lot of reasons why you're not burning as many calories as you think you should be.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things that can play into that.
I mean, I don't have a thyroid.
Right.
So mine can get really whacked out and I'll be like, gain 10 pounds over a couple months and be like, what the hell? I've been tracking everything and it's like, oh, my thyroid's out of whack because I don't have one.
Just changing like medication doses basically increases your expenditure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, this is completely off topic, but crazy. But so basically that's what was happening is apparently my manufacturer had switched and it was like, I guess, less of a dosage than my other one, even though it was the same dosage. And I talked to my doctor and he's like, yeah, apparently like manufacturers, especially if they don't have like a lot of oversight in the US or something, like even though they say a certain dosage, it could be like up to 20% off. And I'm like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. So if you take levothyroxine and you notice something different with your deficit every time you get a new bottle of pills, you might look into this.
Are they a different shape or color this month?
Yeah. But no, yeah, there's definitely a lot of things like hormones, like the thyroid, other hormones, your like general activity, what your work is, your day-to-day life, what a lot of that stuff looks like. Stress. A lot of these things will impact kind of the calories outside of that equation. But you can fix a lot of those things, but the answer is typically just eat fewer calories until you figure that out. And then, if you start eating fewer calories and then you figure some of that stuff out, if you're using Macro Factor, your expenditure will adjust back up and it'll tell you, okay, you can eat more now. It will give you calories back just the same way it'll take them away. So,
okay. And if you don't want to use Macro Factor because you refuse to pay subscription fees, what would you recommend? You have a calculator on your site, right?
Yeah, I have a TDEE calculator, which will give you a good starting estimate. And then from there, I would start with that estimate for whatever your goal is. And then I would say, weigh in as much as you can every week. Take the average weight across each week. Like once a week, maybe like every Saturday, you average up the past week and then compare every Saturday's average weight for a couple of weeks. And then if you're not losing weight as fast as you want, decrease your calories. If you're losing weight too fast, increase your calories.
Only about like a 100 or 200, right?
Yeah, like 100 or 200 a day. And then go 2 more weeks and repeat the process.
Free advice for you.
Yeah. If you're using an iPhone, there's an app called Happy Scale that will do the automatic averaging of your weight and just show you like the average weekly trend.
Yeah.
So that'll make that a little easier. I don't think there's an Android version of that app specifically.
But you can always throw it in a spreadsheet.
Yeah. I mean, all it does is like, add up the days you waited that week and divide by, you know how an average works. So
I hope you know how an average works.
If you don't, you can Google, how do I get an average of my weight for the week?
Add the numbers and divide it by the number of numbers.
There you go. And then just in general, the more consistent you are with your activity and your food intake, the more successful you'll be with like reaching your weight goal at the speed you want to reach it. The more things you're changing day to day, you get a lot more variables. It's way harder to track and figure out what should I change to change my goal.
Yeah.
So.
I think, okay, so this is just my opinion, right? Like, I guess it really depends on like what is your goal. If your goal is just like having fun and being active, none of this really matters, right?
Yeah. This is like specifically for I'm not losing weight as fast as I think I should be is like 95% of the use case for this conversation.
Yeah, like your main goal is weight loss and you don't want to do anything to jeopardize your weight loss. That's what this advice is for.
Yeah, for sure. So if you're like even without the tracking and activity, even like missing normal workouts, like if you're like, oh, I miss like 2 or 3 of my workouts a week, or like, but it's different every week. Like everything that's different each week makes this harder to consistently track.
Yeah.
So,
and if you're doing like a 6-hour bike ride and it makes you so tired that you don't do your workout.
Yeah.
The next day, that's kind of a problem too, right? Like it could jeopardize like your weight loss goals in that way.
Yeah. And that's a situation where you just need to decide what your priorities are. Like, and if you're like, okay, I don't want to lose this bike ride, but I definitely can't do this workout the next day. Then you maybe move that workout to a different day, or you just do one less workout a week or whatever. I mean, whatever your priorities are. And then your weight loss goal is kind of separate from that anyway. Like the activity helps, but for the reasons we've talked about here, it's not like the thing that's going to make you lose weight in most cases.
Right.
So yeah, you decide like, these are the things I really want to do. This is the stuff I enjoy the most. And then we just, plan your food intake stuff around that.
Yeah. And honestly, if you're able to do like a 6-hour bike ride, maybe you don't have weight to lose. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you're healthy and happy.
Maybe. Yeah.
Sometimes it's more about what your body does
I can
than how
this,
you look,
Your bike rides are going to feel a lot better if you're not trying to lose weight, because you're going to be like on maintenance or even in a surplus.
Yeah,
you're going to feel a lot more recovered and strong and stuff like that. So it's definitely a personal preference and priorities type conversation. It's really disappointing that these apps turn this on by default when they do. And I really think this feature shouldn't be in these apps at all to add the calories back from exercise, because I've seen so many people talk about this on the internet about like basically how this thing has completely screwed up their weight loss for months because they like had this on and they didn't know about it. Like I've seen this for years and I've been telling people to turn this setting off for years. So I would just make sure you don't have that on.
I don't even think it's just the apps. It's like, it's also like the treadmill thing and the elliptical thing, and like not even just those. It's like if you're using workout apps and stuff, they'll overestimate how many you burn too. They'll probably factor in like you just the breathing and the organ function calorie burn, right? But I think it's like it's to make you feel like you did more than you really did, because it's a lot of it comes down to like marketing,
right?
Or like you see influencers that are like, do my 30-minute belly burner and burn 400 calories. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Well, there was also active advice for a long time. They call this basically, so this whole thing, they call it eating back your calories from exercise. So there was like advice for a long time. It's like, okay, you burn 300 calories, eat back the 300 calories.
Right.
Well, the problem is that would work if you actually knew how many calories you burned, but it's just not accurate enough.
Right.
And it can be off by like a lot.
Yeah. We're like potentially really overestimating how many calories we burn.
Right.
And I think you also have to like factor in the marketing perspective of like, it looks better from like my workout plan if I say you burn a lot of calories.
Right.
Or like the elliptical looks better if it says you burn a lot of calories. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
I don't want the treadmill that says I only burned 100 calories after walking on it for an hour.
Yeah, I've been on some ellipticals where it's like I was on there for 20, 25 minutes and it says I burned 550 calories.
Yes.
It's like that's not within the realm of reality.
But I'm like, I gave you my height and weight. Why do you think this is wild?
Yeah. Yeah.
But like it makes you feel kind of good. You're like, wow, I'm so accomplished.
Yeah.
I can definitely eat ice cream tonight.
Exactly.
But it's like, it's mind fuckery. Don't fall for it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I think that's all I have to say on that for now. So now we can talk about our myth of the week.
What is that?
Our myth of the week this week is that serving sizes matter, or they have like a specific reason, or they're important. You can think of it however you want.
Ooh, I think I know that this is also marketing gimmicky stuff.
Yeah. It's especially bad, I think.
Especially in the U.S.
Yeah, the U.S. is mostly the one that does kind of the serving size thing like this.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of other countries do like per 100 grams. Some of them do both, where it's like we have per 100 grams, but then we also have per like 25 grams.
Yeah.
We think that's about a serving.
I feel like I saw that in Canada.
Yeah. So, yeah, serving sizes. What's weird is I actually prefer our labels to the other non-U.S. labels that I've seen.
Yeah.
For a couple of reasons, but the serving size thing specifically is like really not great.
Yeah, I think I prefer it because I'm used to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't necessarily know that I would prefer it had I grown up elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, I was looking at one from Europe a couple of weeks ago that you like literally couldn't figure out the protein information you needed from the label.
That's a problem.
Yeah. So that was, I don't know why they did it, because I guess they have some rules where there's a lot of flexibility in how the people are able to put information on the label. So sometimes it just doesn't give you the information that I would want on there because they chose not to put it on there. So that can get very confusing.
Yeah, I wish all the rules were the same.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But what I have seen is, okay, I think it really depends on like how you're marketing a product or how the company is marketing a product. Because like, okay, let's take, for example, like the Hungry Man meals.
Right.
Like they're going to do a larger serving size because their target demographic is like large men who need lots of calories, hearty food, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, that's going to be like 700 calories, right?
Yeah. Well, what do you mean by serving size there? Do you mean more food?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think on a Hungry Man, the serving size is one tray of food.
Exactly.
Or whatever. Yeah.
Right? But they do that on purpose.
Yeah.
Is kind of my point.
Yeah.
But then like a lean cuisine or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's going to be like 300 calories. But like potentially the macros could be the same. Like your protein percentage could be the same.
Yeah.
But another thing they really like to do is they like to mention how many grams of protein are you getting without the context of calories.
Oh, yeah.
So like the lean cuisine could be the same protein percentage as a Hungry Man meal. And then like you could just eat 2 lean cuisines.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I also see this with a lot of recipe creators will do this too, where they will like intentionally make their serving size larger to be like, this has 50 grams of protein. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, it's 1,000 calories, Becky.
Yeah. Well, and they'll do this is actually the problem with serving sizes is they'll do this both ways. Like they'll make the serving size bigger if they want to like focus on something like the protein. So it's like, oh, this has a lot of protein per serving. Please don't look at the calories. Please don't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
But then also they'll go the other direction and they'll make serving sizes smaller to make it look more like healthy or lean.
Yeah.
Like it'll be like, okay, yeah, this is only 100 calories. It's like, okay, but a normal person eats 5 servings of this.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, so I think my advice would be to look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
Like you need to look at the calories in relation to the protein, if protein is a target that you have.
Right.
But also look at like if you're worried about like how full will it keep me, look at what kind of food is it like. Is it like high water volume, so it's more of like a volume food?
Yeah.
You know, like vegetables are going to give you like a feeling of fullness because you're eating more.
Right.
You know, but what I've also seen on the flip side is like I've seen a few fitness influencers being like, don't eat that. It's only 7 grams of protein.
Right.
And it's like, okay, but it's 70 calories. So if you want more than 7 grams of protein, eat more than one of them.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of stuff like that where it's like, if it doesn't have at least 20 grams of protein, it's bad. It's like, what, 20 grams of protein in what? Like without calories, these numbers don't mean anything.
Yeah. I think it's just another one of those things of like, my stuff's better than these people's stuff. Don't look at these people's stuff. You only want to trust me for information.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're not giving you all the information, you probably shouldn't trust them at all.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah. And then like the stuff like peanut butter, where it's like there's a serving of peanut butter, super high calorie. But if you look at the label on peanut butter, it's like, okay, it's 180 calories or whatever for a serving.
Right.
And then you go and you like weigh out a serving of peanut butter. You're like, okay, well, this is like half a piece of bread of peanut butter.
Right.
So,
yeah. I feel like...
And that's the reason they did that, I think, is to make it look like there's less fat. Because they're like, there's only 5 grams of fat per serving. It's like, okay, but there's 20 grams of fat in how much peanut butter I put on a sandwich.
Right. And I think you have that a lot with like kind of specifically like the nut butters and stuff, where it's like nobody's actually using a serving of peanut butter.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll use a serving if I'm like dipping apples in it, but certainly not if I'm making a sandwich with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do that shit on purpose.
Yeah. And then there's a lot of just kind of really arbitrary serving sizes with like chips and nuts and stuff. It's like a serving of chips is like 12 chips. It's like, where did that come from?
What?
Right.
Yeah, but I think the problem is because a serving has such like weight when you hear it, like you just assume like the company is like deciding what is a healthy amount of said food for you to eat, but honestly, it's usually based on nothing. Like, if a chip company wants to sell you bags of chips that are only 100 calories, they're just going to, like, weigh out what 100 calories of chips are, and it might be, like, 10 chips.
They're so often way off from what, if you just gave a person, like, the bag of chips or gave a person the peanut butter, like, what they would actually just naturally use is, like, nowhere near what a serving size is for a lot of these products.
Yeah, it's, like, mostly marketing, really. Like, what are they trying to communicate?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to actually change the recipe of chips, but I am going to say this is a 100-calorie bag of chips.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to give you less. And then I'm going to sell it to you for more.
Yeah.
And say it's like a low-calorie snack.
Yeah.
Like, it's all a bunch of marketing gimmicks. So I think, like always, we're always saying just, like, read the nutritional label and try to actually glean useful information from it.
Yeah. I mean, a couple of things you look at are just, like, the protein to calorie ratio. And then when you actually go to use the product, in the U.S., the serving size is kind of annoying, but it also right next to it does have how many grams per serving.
Yeah.
So you can pretty easily weigh out, the portion of food that you're going to use and then do the math on that to figure out how much you actually had. So, compare the protein to the calories, actually weigh the food if you're tracking calories, actually weigh the food. And then, because to make sure you're not getting too much, like the peanut butter, like I know I keep going back to it, but that's the one. It's like
it really gets to you.
Weigh your peanut butter because you're going to end up screwing up your entire daily deficit with one swipe of the butter knife on the peanut butter. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think like the main takeaway here is that the companies aren't looking out for your best interest when they come up with a serving size. It's really more about how they're marketing their product. And I will say for me, like, when I'm coming up with a serving size for the recipes, it's pretty arbitrary as well. It's mostly based on, like, what do we eat for dinner?
Yeah.
I'm like, I made this big batch of pasta. I think it's 4 servings because we ate it over 2 days.
Yeah. But I think yours, first of all, you have all the other information. Right? You have the percentage of protein right there, so it's easy to see. And also, your serving sizes are sane. Like you just said, this is 4 servings because this is how we ate it. It's not. You're not going to take like one of your cheesecakes and make it 35 servings. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I was just trying to give context as somebody who makes serving sizes for a living, like I just kind of arbitrarily decide based on how we eat them.
Yeah. And there are a lot of things that make sense for, like a serving of pizza is a slice of pizza.
Yeah.
That makes sense. A serving of chips being 10 chips doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Or a serving of an Impossible patty or something. 1 patty. Yeah, that makes sense. That's how people eat the food.
Right. Well, also, like, okay, so if you make a recipe and you're like, man, this chick's serving sizes are way off. Don't know what she's thinking. Why would I eat that much food? You can just, like, multiply the serving calories and protein and all that jazz by the number of servings that I've said it is, right?
Yeah.
And then just divide that by how many servings you're actually doing. Yeah. And that'll give you your new calories per serving adjusted.
I mean, you're definitely it's going to be hard to avoid doing some math unless you just want to eat it the exact same way as whoever made the serving calculator made it. But it's more about, like you were saying, like the way that they do it in stores to be like just another little misleading marketing tool.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it definitely is.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad they have the information, but you really have to be careful of the way it's presented.
Yeah. I had, I have a fresh mozzarella recipe and like the whole thing is like, it makes 10 servings, right? And I had some guy was like, I don't think, because like a serving is like 50 calories. He's like, I think this serving size is too small. And I'm like, based on like what though? Because you haven't made it.
Yeah.
Because it's like actually a lot.
Yeah.
And he's like, how much does it weigh? And it's like, I never do grams on mine. It really depends on like how you cook off water and like a lot of factors that.
Yeah, this is not a packaged product.
It's too hard to put grams and serving sizes for recipes.
Yeah.
A lot of factors I can't control in your kitchen.
Right.
But I'm just like, it's like a serving size to me is like a large size of pizza. And like, I think this recipe covers 10 large slices of pizza. So, like, that's a serving size. But also, like, if you want to eat 1.5 servings of it when you make it, you can do that.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. And it's the same with chips. Like, I can just eat 15 chips.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, like, you look at the label in the store and you're like, oh, these might be kind of, like, they're not super unhealthy. And then you look at the serving size in your hand and you're like, oh, I mean, I'm going to eat 6 servings.
I get 3 bites for 700 calories.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I think moral of the story is eat whatever serving size you want to eat and then just track it accordingly.
Yeah. The serving size on the label is very arbitrary and should not be like the way you determine if it's like healthy, quote unquote, or unhealthy.
Yeah. Look at all the other pieces of information.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So I think that's it for this week. If you guys could rate and review our podcast on Apple Podcast and Spotify, that really helps us out. You can also leave comments on Spotify and YouTube. I like seeing those. And then also down in the show notes is our Deficient Vegans Discord server, where we have a lot of cool friends and talk about vegan things and fitness things.
Yeah, it's popping off pretty good these days.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And then also in the show notes, you can see our websites, proteindeficientvegan.com, muscledeficientvegan.com. Find us on Instagram or any of the other social medias if you want to reach out, ask questions, send an email or contact on the website.
We will respond.
Yeah, happy to talk. All right. Thanks for listening. You want to say bye?
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.